And hello, everybody, and welcome back to Pathways with me, your host, Tod Allen Baker. And we're filming from the living room again. I kind of like doing it from the living room than the studio. It's kind of more personal. I have a fantastic guest today. So overjoyed to see her. It's been probably since 2017 since I last saw her, 2019, I can't remember, 2017. I did the Damn Yankees tour with her in 1997 through 1998. She's
Just yesterday.
just like yesterday. I sat in front of her. She sat in front of me in the bus, so like we were kind of bus mates, and you bond really well when you're on a bus together on a daily or weekly
Mhm.
basis. And we always kept in contact. She is a wonderful Broadway tours, television, everything. She's an amazing vocalist. She taught me so much about the business, and about performing, and just a joy to work with, and a beautiful spirit. And I can't wait to hear all of her adventure because I mean, I know her resume, but and I don't know her beginnings. So I'm so looking forward to this. This is my great friend and just a stellar performer, Mary Callanan. So
Hello, Todd.
hello and welcome. And look what I got for you, just special
Oh,
bandstand. This is the last time I saw Mary on Broadway was on in bandstand. So just for her.
good for you. I don't have that mug, so good for
You
you.
don't?
No, I think mine is black, but
No, yeah.
yes, I like that one. Yes.
Yes.
Why not? Why not celebrate your patriotism while you're having your morning coffee?
Right, exactly. Exactly. Oh, so I'll just start how we always start. Where are you from and how did you get into this business, this show business, this acting bug, this thing that we call the business? How did you
This
get your beginning?
business we call show.
The
I,
show.
I am from Boston, Massachusetts, and I got into this business through the side door. I was in college. I sang in a band, and then I sang in a big band, and with the like 40-piece orchestra.
So more like
And
big band music, like Benny Goodman and all that?
yeah,
Oh, your style. I love it.
and also then the band was, Madonna and Whitney and Taylor Dane and all the big hits of the 80s. Yeah. And then after college, just before or as we were getting married and buying our house, we were at the bank signing the mortgage papers. And I turned to my husband and I said, I can't sing in a band anymore. I think I have to do theater. And he said, okay. And
Now, had you done theater beforehand?
I I I did like two shows in college, and that was it. I
Literally, really. You just said I would just want to go on stage.
Yep. I mean, I I I had done one community theater show and also in college, and I decided to like produce the college theater company just to learn what that was. But I didn't I went to a music business college and I didn't really do theater. I did sports in high school.
I had
And
no idea. I just thought you were like born into it, born and raised because you're such a natural and that's what you did.
I faked it, Todd. Don't tell anyone. Shh. Yeah. So basically, I all of those tours that we did back in those days were I had done just before that tour that I met you on. Um, I had done maybe two seasons of summer stock, and that was my university education, doing five shows in 7 weeks or whatever it
And
was.
we've discussed this with one of my other people that I've done summer stock with because it's kind of a lost art form. A couple places do it, but they restock like the Muni and other
Oh,
places.
right.
but like in our day, like you did the shows. I did summer stock where I did 4 shows in 3 months and was rehearsing 2 shows while performing one. And that's just the way you did it.
That's just the way you did it. And you cleaned the toilets.
You cleaned the toilets.
Good old
With,
non-union.
yep.
Yep. Yep. In the
For
theater that
pennies.
I worked in, we did oh yeah, and we got paid.
Pennies.
But we did every season there was a Gilbert and Sullivan, an Agatha Christie or some such small little play, and then like big musicals. And we were doing them all not all at the same time, not 5. I didn't have 5 shows in my head, but I would rehearse one show and do a different show at night. And then as that one was closing, the next one was opening, and the following Monday you started with the next show. And yeah, that
Yeah.
was a thing.
It was a thing. That was like a wheelhouse of like stuff. But the
For
great
me,
thing about summer stock is you load your resume.
yeah. And when you're and though I was not as young probably as you because I started a little late, but I was always a character person. So I was playing the roles that I should be playing now. I was playing at, 25 or 29 and holding. Meanwhile, like learning how the costume shop worked, learning how the props worked, learning how to do rigging and
And when
hanging
you do
lights.
summer stock, it is like a universal, like it is university where I did 2 summer stocks and I did it for years. I did like 3 seasons and we had a community summer stock where I was. So I did it when I was younger, but not paid. And
Ah,
but I was always around it and it was like a university experience. You learned how to costume. I mean, you
sell tickets. You did everything.
did everything.
Mhm.
Yeah. I mean, you're fortunate now to have that because now you're just like, you know, you get to do some things. I'm fortunate right now. I'm helping direct a 5th grade musical and like we're doing Wonka and
Oh,
yeah, it's a lot. Let me just tell you with 45 5th graders running around, it's a
it's a
lot.
lot with grown-ups, so I can only imagine.
Right, right. But the props people and the lighting people, they're actually getting their chance. Like and it's super fun to watch these 5th graders be organized with who does the props and they're the lights and they're the stage managers. That's kind of super cool to watch 5th graders have that responsibility. And
And either they do it or they get spoken to. You know what I mean? That's what I liked about learning it is 8 o'clock was coming whether you were ready or not.
right, right,
So you best be ready because you'll only look silly.
right,
Maybe that's hard on a 5th grader, but that's why they call it show business. You know,
right.
I've done
I
shows
like
with,
that because I did community theater with junior players, what we call junior players, and my mom was like part of it. She wasn't a stage mom by any means. We all know that. Debbie is not a stage mom at all. But he
Debbie.
would be a work backstage, but all the adults ran the backstage and the lights. So it's fun to
Ah,
watch kids do all this
yeah.
with adult
With
supervision,
supervision. Sure, sure, sure.
but they're doing it and it's kind of cool to watch the kids do it. Um, and right before you got on tour with me, you were on tour with Sound of Music with Marie Osmond, right?
That is correct. Yes, we did almost a year in the States. And then they said, if you can live through, 10 and a half months doing split weeks and worse, I can't even, um, we'll send you to Southeast Asia and we'll give you a star because there were no union, you know. So we had Marie, we went to Korea and then she met us and we did Singapore, Bangkok, and Hong Kong 9 days after the handover.
How
So,
is that performing in Asia? Like, what's that audience response?
oh, well, I think the answer is if you give them what they want, i.e., Rodgers and Hammerstein, i.e., Marie Osmond, they sang along, they knew all the English words.
Oh, really?
Oh, to the songs for sure. And one of the funniest memories I have is when we were in Korea, we went to see 42nd Street in Korean with two American actors, and everyone else was Korean. And to sit in the audience, and I had never done the show, but I know the show. So not to know what the dialogue is, but to know exactly what was going on was a trip, because of course I don't know the language.
Right.
But the fact that so many people came to see The Sound of Music, not knowing the language, but certainly knowing the story because of the movie, I guess. It was sold out every performance was sold out. They just loved her. They wouldn't let her leave the stage. She couldn't have been more lovely. It was a great, and we got to go to Asia.
And
So
that's
that was
what we
fun.
always say. It's like I mean, the places we've been and the things that we are able to do
Yep.
by traveling and by touring and by doing this is just amazing. The opportunities that we got. Did we get super rich off of it? No.
Okay.
But
No,
the opportunities to travel and to do things like that, that's that's unmatchable in price or memories.
it has it for me, it was absolutely part of the equation.
Yeah.
Being able to tour and go to different museums and see different kinds of cultures and music. And I don't mean Asia necessarily. I mean, like, for a New Englander to go to Mobile, Alabama
Huh?
and go see live Zydeco or whatever, that's a whole cultural experience in itself. So to be open to different people and foods, and yet know that everybody's the same, was really fun back then.
Back then, and I get it as well. Like I always say, it doesn't matter if I went on a ship or something. And I loved when you're touring and you got to go to, different parts of the states and, hit all 50 states, and that's amazing. And you do see the culture, but I always say one of the best things for me as like on a ship was that, you're with 55 different nationalities. It's like your own United Nation. So it's not about just going to Jamaica every week or the port that you're going to. Like you're living with these people and you're celebrating their independence days on the ship. So you're getting to know the culture and you're able to sit down with someone in the crew or staff area and say, what's it like in Barbados? What is your rules? Or what is it like for you in Hungary? What is this? And what is your career? What's it like in
Absolutely.
Norway? And that is education you'll never receive by just traveling there.
That is correct. Which, like you say, that's, for me, that was a big part of it,
Yeah, it's
because
priceless.
I toured non-union for a lot of, 5 or 6 seasons. So to meet the different people and just to learn how to get along in life, it is also a great tool.
Yeah.
And
And
then, yeah.
so from there, you did tours, you,
Hmm.
and I know you still go back and forth. When did you first, when did you get what was your first Broadway gig?
It was Annie. And it was, as a matter of fact, you will find this funny, and maybe your listeners will too. Uh, when we were on those buses, you and I and all our friends, you make friends with the people you work with. And something I had learned in my civilian life was how to, quote, play in the sandbox, and how important that is to get along. Not, you may not agree with everybody, but you need to get along with everybody because you're a traveling circus family. So anyway,
I like that. A traveling circus. Yes, yes, we were. There's a
flash
cast of
flash
characters.
forward a million years, and I had done three. I'd done a bunch of Mamma Mia on the road, all through North America, Canada, US, whatever.
Oh yeah, you worked in Vegas because you work with my friend Casey in Vegas. Yeah.
Oh, Casey. Um, we it was what I'll go with 2010, sure. And I was finally, I was back home, I was off the road, and my husband said, if you're ever thinking about doing New York, you need to go right now. You have a big old credit on your resume. You need to go right now while you have a little money. You have Mamma Mia touring money, which is better than um, non-union touring money.
Right.
And I went to New York, and I just happened to be seeing mutual friends who was a guy who used to be the theater manager of a theater in Boston, because I did a lot of Boston theater too. And he now worked at a different theater. And he said, "Oh, I think you know a friend of mine who's the company manager. I'm going to say hello for you." And I said, "Oh my God, please say hello." And the next day I get an email through Facebook saying, "Are you really here?" It was our old company manager, Heidi, was looking for somebody to replace somebody in Annie. And she said, you would be perfect. And so
Heidi. Yeah, and Heidi and I've crossed paths again since then as well.
and it's because she went to them and said, "This is the hardest working person I know. And I know you don't know her, because when as you know, in New York, they look at your resume and you're one of a zillion people. And it's even harder now. But back then you were only half a zillion people." And she basically said to them, "I'm telling you to hire her."
And I'm
Like,
going to cut you right there, and then I'm going to let you speak because we've said it. This is your number 17, and you're not the first. You're probably 17 out of the 17 that has got a job like this in this business. Reputation, work ethic matter.
play well in the sandbox. I cannot stress that hard enough, because we're all talented. Tell them, Todd, we're all talented.
We're talented.
We wouldn't be there. You know what I mean?
Right.
You wouldn't be there if you weren't talented. But so is everybody else in the room.
Mhm.
So is everybody out in the waiting room. So is everybody. So it I I was mercifully and luckily in the right place at the right time. And let's really tell people what it's really like, especially in New York. I fit the costumes of the person that was leaving.
Who did you play?
I was Mrs. Pugh, and I understudied Miss Hannigan, and I went on. And then that really helped the next step. Do you know what I mean? Like, when people can see that you can actually lead a Broadway show, then it's okay.
And you
But
played my dream role, Miss Hannigan.
exactly, exactly. But I fit Mrs. Pugh's costumes because they cost tens of thousands of dollars to make. So they don't want to have to build a new set of costumes if
I
they
like.
can put you in the costume of the person that just left.
So it's all timing. It was someone that says someone's leaving. You have a friend. You fit the costume. Boom.
Would you like to hear the other weird thing about that particular show?
I
It
would.
was really kismety weird. Was what do I know? And I'm not a dancer. You can always tell them that after I go off the air. But I can I was a nonsense tapper. I know what I'm talking about. But um there was this unknown man named Andy Blankenbuehler who was doing the choreography for Annie, certainly unknown to me. And so I thought, "Oh, it's Annie. It's whatever." It wasn't, but I didn't know that. So I had my initial audition, then I had my initial audition, and then the final audition was a dance call. And I thought, "Oh, well, it was fun. I got really far." So I brought my T-straps or whatever they were back then, and my split sneakers. And I was at the audition, and there were just three of us there. And there was a woman at the time, Katie Finneran, who was gorgeous. She was Miss Hannigan, but the next Miss Hannigan was going to be Jane Lynch,
Yes.
who was gorgeous in a different way.
Yeah.
But Katie was like Bubba Boom.
I was going to
And
say, Jane was on there when you were there,
we
correct?
got hired on the same day,
Oh,
which is why
wow.
we became pals because we were the two scared first day of school kids, me and Jane Lynch. But anyway,
I think that's just amazing that you're
isn't
just
that
telling me
stupid?
that Jane Lynch is amazing. And if
That's all she
anyone doesn't
wanted
know Jane Lynch, look her up. Sue Sylvester, she's super famous, done everything. But
her
I
whole
think that's
career. All
awesome that
she
you're
ever
both sitting there scared.
well, I never saw her till we started rehearsal, but her audition process, I'm sure, was a little bit different.
A little
But
bit, maybe.
she said all she ever wanted to do is be on Broadway. All the credits, all the movies, all the things she's done, all she ever wanted to do is be on Broadway. So she got her wish. That being said, so it's me, a woman who is absolutely bodaciously gorgeous in a different way, hair, nails, heels, blonde, and then a woman that looked not unlike like B. Arthur. So I was kind of like Zoftig. There were three of us. We couldn't look any different. So clearly it was not going to be you all look alike. It's going to be we need a certain type. And
Right.
that's what it's going to be. So we go to the dance call and they say, okay. And the beautiful blonde girl said, oh, and she had like 7-inch heels on. And she said, oh, I didn't, we have to dance? Like, oh, okay. It's a dance call. But anyway, anyway,
Titled,
I was
but
like,
all
oh,
right.
okay, cool. So I said, oh, well, what size are you? And she said, I'm a 9. I said, oh, well, you can use my heels and I'll just wear my sneakers. And the B. Arthur said, what are you, crazy? What are you doing? And I said, well, she can't dance in those. She can hardly walk in those. That's not fair. And she goes, fair? Ugh. And what I didn't realize is that the dance assistant was like listening. So that was another thing I found out afterwards is that because the three of us had 17 left feet between us. So it wasn't who was going to be the best dancer, but I did find out that Andy was told, or casting was told, that I gave up my shoes for someone else to make it a fair fight. And they were like, okay. Again, playing in the sand. I don't know if it's like that anymore, but in 2010, all of these things conspired to help.
I just think that's amazing. And I think that it's the kindness that matters. And I had a casting director, uh, Lamar, who does casting, who I used to work with. And we came full circle. I was his dance captain. He became my rehearsal director and then my dance captain. Then, I'm sending him my resume to go back on ships to put on shows. So like
Sure.
the full circle, right? I mean, I played well in the sandbox and Lamar and I have always been
Sure.
friends, right? But he's casting, he said the same thing. We look for that when you walk through the door and how you behave in the audition room. If you're not moving to the front and the back and giving people room, or the people that you talk to at the front door, if you're rude to them at the front door, that gets relayed back to us and we don't want to hire you.
It starts at the door. I don't know who watches this podcast, but it starts at the door and it ends at the door. If,
I
I
think
know
that's
you're
a great
nervous.
phrase. I
I'm
love that.
nervous. Everybody's
I
nervous.
just said that. And then you added on, we just created magic, you and I. It begins at the door and ends at the door. Magic. Once again, you and I, magic.
Buddies, bus buddies, forever.
Forever. I mean, we had some times. We had some times.
Uh,
I mean, anyone that we wake up in the morning, we just see each other fresh, waking up, sleeping on the bus. I mean, gotta love.
kind of like this.
Right. um, so from there, I mean, you did do like you started going on. Did you go back on tour? How long did you do Annie? Because that's 2010, and then I didn't see you to 2017. So we have a gap.
Well, Annie, I think it ended at like May or August of that season, whatever. So did I stay? Well, we went back out. Oh, I finally got to play Mama Rose, so that was a big thing. And
Yes,
then
and that is you. Yes, yes.
and then we got Mamma Mia again in Las Vegas. which
Oh,
was,
that's where, yeah. And that's when you met Casey. Yeah.
that's where Casey came in. And that we thought would run forever, and it didn't. But they were so sure that it wasn't gonna run, that they were telling people, you can keep your underwear. And everyone was very sad, Casey would tell you, because we thought we'd be there for years, and we weren't there maybe 8 weeks. Or 10 weeks. It was awful. But
Only 10 weeks? I thought it was like a year.
no, it was supposed to be. Yeah. But I had been working with the same actress who played Tanya through the whole thing. We did all 3 years on the road, and then
I
here we
just saw it
were.
recently again. It was a good
Yeah,
tour that just came by.
it's a great tour. Well, the gal who's playing Donna in the tour was our Donna in Las Vegas.
Oh,
But
really? Okay,
yeah,
yeah.
so the Rosie and Tanya had been the same for years and years and years. So we were sharing a dressing room in Las Vegas, and the wardrobe office came in and said, so we have good news and bad news for you too. And we were like, oh, it just can't get any worse. What? And they said, you can't have your underwear. And we were like, really? You're not even going to give us our underwear? Why? And they said, well, we can't really say. And we were like, wait, are you trying to tell it? And so they sent us to Broadway, which was phenomenal. They sent the two of us out of the Las Vegas. When Las Vegas closed, we got to go to Broadway, and we ended up closing the Broadway company.
Oh,
So
wow. I didn't know that part. Okay.
yeah, so
So
that was
it was,
great.
we had a good ending. We had a good
Yeah.
ending.
Hey, go out on top.
Right.
And
I mean, we bookend that, right? We bookended it.
started as a child, ended as a way past childhood. But the fun thing is, not only is the Donna somebody I worked with, but the gal that's playing Rosie was the Rosie on the non-union tour, and she's from 3 towns away from where I'm sitting right now.
Oh,
So
wow.
we've known each other. So I was like, well, and I happened to be in Asbury Park at a film festival seeing a film that she was in, and I was sitting next to her, and she said, keep it in anymore. I'm only telling you, I just booked it. And so it was fun to be there when she found out that she got this new tour that's doing so great.
You passed the
And
torch.
you just, here you go, girl. I can't do
That's
that anymore.
awesome. I
You
think
roll
that's
around on the
brilliant.
ground.
I think that's just simply brilliant.
Yeah. So that was terrific. And so we did that for a long time. So I did Broadway with Mamma Mia. And then uh while I was in the dressing room at Mamma Mia, I heard they were doing this show at Paper Mill that was about World War II and quote unquote big band. And I was like, wait, it's called bands. So it's like band singers and whatever. Oh, it's Andy. So I
And it
wrote,
was a brilliant show. And you
but
were
I didn't
brilliant.
know what it was about
But
because I
I
wasn't.
wish you could have went on tour and showed because,
Well,
oh, the talent, the
it did
music,
go on tour, just not with us. But
it never
uh,
came around. I never saw it.
oh yeah, there was a non-union tour. I don't know how long it was out there, but it was out there. But I wrote Andy Blankenbuehler an email, which I'd never done in my life. I was like, "Hi, Andy. I don't know if you remember me, but I was in Annie, and I hear you're doing a big band musical, and I'm sure it's already cast. But if you ever go forward, if I could be seen, if there really is something for someone like me in your show." And he wrote back. This was during Hamilton. Like I was like, he's never gonna, he was way too big. And he wrote back and he said, I do remember you. And if whatever, we can't use you in Paper Mill, but if it ever, and I went in to they sent me stuff for the audition, and I thought, oh, it is actually band singing. I know how to sing like this. And the musical director really liked me because I still really had no idea what I was stepping into. And it turned out to be a powerful, fabulous. It's on Broadway HD, people that watch this podcast. So if you ever want to watch it,
It is
uh,
on, okay.
it's basically And we were on the Street of Dreams that season. It was Come From Away, which was the 9/11 musical.
Right.
Um, Great Comet, which was like the 1812 musical about the Russian Revolution, whatever. And Bandstand, which they refused to call the PTSD musical, but basically that's what it is. It's soldiers coming home from World War II that didn't know how to cope with real life, and they found music, and that's what kept them from the horrible return home that many soldiers from all countries
I know
have to
what I
do.
loved about that musical was the talent. I mean, like you
Oh,
had to play an instrument, you sang, they danced. Like it wasn't like you sang, you dance, you act. Like these men and women were like playing instruments as well.
yep. That was the first time I'd ever gone through to the next. Oh, I see. It's not good enough that these guys are monster dancers and unbelievable singers and crazy actors. And now they have to play instruments too. Cool. Okay. Thankfully, my character didn't have to do that, but
You
I did
parked
have
and
to,
barked like a beauty.
and I did have to dance a lot, and it was
But you had your
scary.
park and bark moments that
Oh,
showcased.
sure, but for sure, but I didn't ever think I'd have to dance like a dancer. But if you're in an Andy show, everybody works, everybody dances. Even, I called us the Sprinkles because he'd do a whole number and it was brilliant. And then he'd be like, okay, the six of you, we're going to put you in, sprinkle us on top, Mason in the back. But we still had to do what everybody else was doing, you know? So it was a humbling, fabulous, much too short experience.
And so, yeah, it was way too short. And I'm
Yeah.
glad I caught it because I got tickets and it closed like 2 weeks after I was there. Um,
Yeah.
which always
Right after we won the Tony
right after
for
I won
Best Book.
Tony.
Yeah.
But I like what you said, and it's been reiterated, and I can always pull it full circle. I've had vocal directors, like people from AMDA and other people that are telling the dancer people that are listening, making sure that you sing, get your vocals, whatever it is, carry a
As good
tune.
as you can. I mean,
And so you're telling me if you think that you're checking yourself off and labeling yourself as a singer, be able to move, take some classes,
yeah. I
learn.
I was always lucky that I could, like, if you teach me the dance steps and you give me enough time and I'll take it home. And since then, like, I got the national tour of the Lincoln Center My Fair Lady. And since lost you, what I've been doing is, if there's something in the dance that I just can't get, I ask someone like you, someone who's very good in the show, to just, I'm going to film you, you do it in front of me, and I'm going to film you. And I would take it home and I would do it after dinner. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, where someone else is learning their lines or their music, that stuff is not, that's not where my problem is. My hill, my combat hill is dancing. So we had to do these very particular wall steps in My Fair Lady, and I had to have the best dancer in the show just stand behind him with a camera, and it really helped because I couldn't do it with the time, because especially up there, time is definitely money up
Right.
at that. I hate to say at that level, but you have to woodshed at home. You can't just do it the 8 hours that you're in the room.
It's work. You got to take your homework home.
Yeah, it's show business.
I
So
mean, I would rehearse like there and it was different in the room, but like if I was doing ships or something else, or tour was a little bit different because it was like certain dance numbers, and of course you went back to your room and you rehearsed your material. But I mean, I always like, and I hear people and I'm kind of like I hear it sometimes, and not to say this in a bad way, but I see kids rehearse and I see things, but then I also hear, well, I don't know if they can go a whole day doing this. I hear people go, well, I don't know if they can do this, you know, and I'm like, I was 29, 28 years old, getting up, stretching, walking 2 miles to rehearsal, rehearsing an 8 hour day, walking back 2 miles to the hotel, and then eating, going to the gym, and and then so I knew the material, rehearsing that night with the cast. Like
Like back at the hotel. Yeah.
it's never too much because you don't.
Because the bad news is it's not too much for the guy behind you. So that's the hard reality, is that it is too much. Come on. You just described a day that I don't ever want to relive, because that's really hard what you just said.
Hard. You're
But
tired.
but if you're 29, suck it up. Or I hope that's not is PG enough for this
Oh,
podcast.
you got
But
it. Yeah.
um
You have to suck it up
it's
because there's
supposed to be
someone
hard.
who's going to put in more work.
If it as the great Beth Level likes to say, Broadway is hard, but anything worth doing is hard. That's why you're tired. That's why you're crying and your voice is really sore, and they say, do it again. And your only answer is yes. 7, 8, here we are.
Yeah.
So um it
I mean, and I don't ever think it's a lot until you just said it was a lot when I repeat that back because I've told that story before. But that's a lot.
it's a lot. But again, you were 29 and you were stretching while you were drinking your coffee, and you were, you know, whatever you do in your head when you're walking to class or whatever rehearsal, and then you rehearse and you're not paying attention to anything, but you're in the moment, and then you got to get home, so you're just thinking about the hamburger, and then you get home and you eat, probably while sitting in an ice bath, and then you're like, oh, I guess it's time to go meet everyone in the lobby and run the scenes again.
Mhm, mhm.
That's just Wednesday.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
It's work. It
yeah,
doesn't stop.
nope, it doesn't.
Doesn't stop. But I'm happy that I had that work ethic, and I think I still have that work ethic. Being older now, being almost 52, sometimes I don't want to do it, but I do. What? Yeah,
52.
52 in like 2 months.
You're a baby. You're still a baby.
Uh, love you. Yes, thank you.
You should always end your podcast with the video of you doing handspring, 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 smash.
Oh, doing the rose plop?
Yeah,
I think
that's
I have a video of
that's
me
what
doing
you called it.
I have
We
a
called
video of
it
me doing
something
the
else.
rose plop on. I mean, I know the rose plop was always for you. I mean,
It was amazing.
it
I
was.
I would just grab myself and pray that it wasn't going to go wrong every night,
So did I.
because that's a long life to live.
That's a
But
long life, and I survived, and I'm actually got all my body parts, and they're functioning really well. So we're
wow,
good.
that's
All my
good.
knees and hips are good. All my friends are getting replacements, so I'm thankful. I'm thankful.
Wow.
I'm thankful for my health. This is sidebar. Like I've had 3 high school friends, 2 grades above me, below me, my age, all passed within the last 2 weeks, and an old dancer friend that was only 2 years older than me
Wow.
this week.
Sorry.
I
I
mean,
thought you were going to say knee replacement, hip replacement.
no, but
Oh,
I've had some. I have a couple of my friends that are in their 50s getting hip replacements. So
well, sure.
I'm
Because
just going to go, thank you. I mean,
right.
just grateful and grateful for life. I just booked a trip to Italy with like my best friend because I
When are
was
we going?
Amalfi Coast.
Okay, cool.
Just
I'll pack my bag. I'll call you
yeah,
after
I'll
the
see you there
show.
November. That would
Okay,
be
cool, cool, cool.
I would do an Italy tour with you. Yeah,
Oh,
and I mean you got to live life and you got to be thankful. But as dancers and performers, you got to take care of yourself.
yes.
I mean, we're
And
getting
I learned that the hard way during bandstand, that because I was not a stretcher, but you bet I am now.
You
Because
got it.
I paid dearly for not. I would watch those guys, you know, they stretch before the show, then they'd go upstairs when the show was over and they'd, you know, pour themselves a drink while they stretched out. And I'd think, I I gotta get back, I gotta go home. And my legs just, so it's the post stretching that I've learned the hard way from those guys. But
And you
watching
give
the
the body a break.
watching the 20-year-olds in that show was a great education because they were athletes. Like you say, the dancing in that show was out of bounds and they were absolute athletes.
And I think for me, that was a thing as in my youth as well, that I came from college and I really didn't warm up because, you know, you have an ego,
Right.
and I had an ego. And then I went to, not that I was good, not that I was better than anyone else. I was like, I don't need to stretch. And I wouldn't. And then I went to Opryland, and like, you know, one of the most amazing places I've ever worked in my life. It was a great, like a university, but I still, because I wouldn't stretch, I was supposed to, and I was like, oh, it's hot out here. I'm doing an outside show. I don't need to stretch. I still have a hip injury, like a hamstring that I get worked on from 1994
Wow.
that still plagues me more than any other injury I had. And I got injured a lot there, not because of, I mean, I was doing a hard show and I was tumbling, but it was no one's fault but my own.
Sure.
Um, and I'll just be full transparent. You know, that's when I was young. That's when I was stupid. That's when I was drinking. You know,
Yeah.
and you know, I'm like,
Well,
you know, I'm
living your life from both ends because you're
right.
20
And
years
so
old.
you know better now. I'm like 7 years sober, and like, you know,
Oh, congratulations.
you,
You.
um, and you, but you know, you're doing your thing back then. I didn't think I had to do it. But
Mhm.
when I got to my next job at Busch Gardens and I'd been injured, I never wanted to be injured again. And I literally,
Me neither.
from that day on, everyone like can like, you know, listen now that I've had injuries, but it was like something stupid or my body was worn down. But I don't have it from stretching because I was in the zone. And you know me on a tour, I was had my mat, I was doing my thing, and I
Sure.
never gave up my stretching routine after that,
Yeah.
ever.
Well, that's why I do it because I had to do like physical therapy after the show closed and it was my own fault. And I thought, well, I'll never do that again. So,
We learn, we
yeah,
learn, we
yeah,
learn.
yeah.
So, what are you currently doing now?
It's audition season.
Yeah, that's why I couldn't get you at first. So
That's right.
explain to us and good terms that we all know. And we've talked about auditions with different people, like with Arbender, with Drew Starling, with like other people, like and Drew and Dion's been on. Like, what your job? We all think that as acting, dancers, singers, whatever, that our job is performing. No, our job is auditioning.
Is getting the job. That's the job.
Yeah.
The job post pandemic is exponentially harder. Post everything, post Me Too, post George Floyd, post. It is infinitely harder. They're because now
And why would that be? What's the reasoning?
because now not only are New York auditions, but you can now send a tape, which was unheard of
Right.
4 years ago. So the pool of talent is exponentially larger.
I think
And
I've heard this from either a friend I'm going to have on that's worked with Tyler Perry and has done like series, or I think someone else had said it, but casting is harder now because where you used to be 50, I don't know if I had it on or I've said it before or I've heard it, that you're right. Now I get it, because
Well,
where
and
you're in a room
now,
with 200 and that's all that came, now you have 500.
and PS, because finally the world has joined the human race, casting is now colorblind,
Yeah,
gender blind.
yeah,
So if you're doing a production of, I'm just going to say, I haven't auditioned for this season, so I can say it, The Music Man,
yeah,
and you're traditionally Mrs. Shin or Mrs. Peru, the field is now, it could be anybody.
yeah,
It could be literally anybody.
yeah.
So um this
I
audition
thought
season,
of it that way. Yeah,
oh,
yeah,
oh yeah, because the while it can be cast, while you can do, say, transgender casting, it's easy to do it in a part like Mrs. Shin, who is a comic, who would give a shot in the arm to the production. You know what I mean? Whatever. It's I'm trying to accept it as a challenge to try to still get a job when between self-tapes and the jobs are. So what's also happening in the business, and again,
and it's
I
a
don't
good
know.
thing. It's a good thing that
Oh,
we've
it's a great thing for
expanded.
the
Right,
business.
and it's a good thing that we're colorblind, and it's a good thing that we're gender blind. There's a good thing that it's all good. It's just harder.
It's just harder. And add on top of that, because of the strike for so long, movie actors are doing television. Television actors are doing Broadway. Broadway actors are doing regional, and regional actors are doing, city, if you will. So,
Never layered it like that. That's
so
fantastic.
when you add on top, like, for example, Wicked, I would love to be in Wicked. Right now, they're doing stunt casting. They're putting in celebrities, Chicago celebrities. It's on top of it all, Pamela Anderson is in Chicago. You know what I mean? Like, you could be the best Roxy in the world, but Pam Anderson is going to sell tickets. You're not in it. You're not going to be in it. Sorry and sorry, but and that and that is the state of the art right now. So you still go into the audition, it's still doorknob to doorknob, it's still hello, hello, hello. But I just, before we came on today, I was reading something from a casting friend of mine who reposted something from a casting friend of his that said, I just opened a casting notice for a role. It didn't say, I don't know who this person cast for. I don't know. It's some theatrical, it's not a TV thing. And for this one role, I just got 2,300. In the last 10 minutes, I got 2,300 submissions. 2,300 submissions for one job. And that in the first 10 minutes. And they said, yeah, there you go. So on a given day in a New York audition, they can see maybe 140 people in 2 days. And this person said, so we have 140 slots for 2,300 submissions, and only 10% of them are going to even be seen. Not to mention the fact that at the last minute, somebody could bring in, Pamela Anderson, and everybody's out. So that's what's going on this year. It's just getting harder. And
It's
so
hard.
Broadway is hard, theater's hard, show business is hard right now.
Right.
But now that,
And this is where we go back to that day that I described.
yeah,
You got to do it.
you got to work on yourself and you got to make for your, so what I'm going to do, because I'm very lucky and that my fallback job is not waiting tables or whatever, is I have a club act. So whatever theater I'm not going to do this season, I'm going to do cabaret, and nobody makes money doing that, but at least my soul will be filled.
Oh, yeah.
So, but it,
I thought you were going to say pole dancing.
yeah, no. I auditioned to be a pole dancer in Jerry Springer once. I didn't get it. I was too old, but I didn't know that.
I love you. I love the fact that that just came out of your mouth just doesn't even shock me. And I just
Why
love
would
it.
it? Because it was a great song. And I thought, oh, they'll work around the pole. Yeah, well, they gave it to somebody
Oh,
35, and that makes sense.
I just love it.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That's why I miss your soul. Because you always just make me laugh. I
And,
love
and
you.
it's all true. You heard it here.
And the best part is I would always try to make you laugh back.
Yep. You can
Whatever
try.
I can do to get you to crack on stage, I would try to crack you on stage.
Not too often, not very successful, but
I think when I wore the thing across the thing and I would do some of my antics during the game in the wing.
the game was good. Yeah. You
I
guys
had
were
some
winning,
antics that broke you a couple of times.
but I wasn't on stage, so that was okay.
So you were in the box.
Oh, up
You have
there.
to
Oh,
duck
yes.
around and you could hide it if I did break you because you could hide your face around Siri and like it was during a slow-mo section. So I got you a couple of times.
Oh, true, very true. Not all right. Let's not, must be professional too. No screwing around on stage, people,
No, never.
unless it warrants it.
Shakespeare.
That's right.
So during this time, because you just said it, and I think I'll just allude to it. Do you feel like giving up, or have you felt like giving up, and how do you work yourself through that?
I'm lucky that I have a husband who will not let me give up. So
Oh, okay. I like that answer.
yeah. Um, it sucks sometimes. Really bad. Like really bad. But you have to believe that tomorrow, well, the sun will come out. She
I'm gonna
said,
say,
staring out at the rain.
bring it, Annie,
Bring the
bring it.
Annie moment. But you have to believe that somewhere at some theater or some TV show is waiting for you. They
You
just
gotta
don't know
believe
it
it.
yet, and you don't know it yet. And or there's some casting director that you haven't seen in a while that went, oh, you call my office tomorrow, blah, 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 blah. Something. You just have to believe it. It may be true. It may not be true, but you have to go forward as if it were true. And I'm also lucky that I do a number of shows from time to time, one-offs at 54 Below in New York. And so sometimes there are people that come to those shows that are like,
Come to
oh,
ours.
why, when is yours?
We have a 54 Below because Michael Feinstein owns our performing arts center. We have our own 54 Below that has cabaret singers in it.
Okay, we'll talk about that when we get off the air. I will come to yes. Yeah, I know. And I still do that too. Yes. Yeah, I would love to. So, and that's the
I
thing.
know
So
peeps. I know peeps.
see, and folks at watching at home, this is how it happens. Because you say something that you don't realize is going to turn into something else. And then
I help people run that thing.
coming to a stage near you, me.
We'll talk.
Okay.
And I'm only going to take 10%.
10% of nothing, you can have 20%.
All right, I'm gonna have to wrap this up in a minute
Okay.
because you know what I gotta go do? Direct some fifth graders.
Oh, well, you need a lot of protein then before you go.
But I always, oh my God, you've just been a joy.
Oh, it's
God,
so
you
good.
made me laugh and I've cried. Oh God, I love it. That's awesome.
Dang.
Um,
Thanks for having me. I really, this was fun.
oh, you've just given me so much education, like things I haven't even thought about, and I've like learned. And you know, this podcast has kind of like really turned my life around too, because I'm going in a different journey too as well. Um, but here's like the hook, and now I've kind of added on to this, and you can quickly add your own hook onto this as well. This is what I wrote. Remember, pathways are like the path when the sun touches the water. You don't know where it leads or ends, but you never know until you walk that path.
We were just talking about it. You don't, and that's part of, and you almost made me cry, you jerk. Um,
Why?
cause I like that little thing that you just said.
Oh,
Uh,
thank you.
you have to be open to where the sun is going to take you. You have to be ready.
Now you're gonna make me cry.
Well, you did it to say, you said your path is changing into a different thing. But if you weren't ready for that, you would be like, well, I can't do that. That's not who I am. That's not what I do. But it might be. How do you know?
And I would
So,
have never got to that path if I had not done this podcast and named it Pathways.
wow. Well, there you go. Like seriously, that's amazing.
It's kind of been cathartic a little bit.
Cool.
Oh, now you're going to make me cry.
All right, you don't have time to cry. You got to go to work.
I know. I got to be happy with fifth
And
grade.
that's the thing about show business, because when it's go time,
It's go
go
time.
like this, and
Got to
get up
go. You
on
got to put
stage.
on the face.
Gotta go.
Oh, you've just been a joy. Thank you for adding on to that. That's like a kind of a new thing that we just brought about. So, you've just been a joy. Thank you so much. I'm going to sign
Oh,
off and then I'll chat with you a brief second and
okay.
we will end it. Thank you so much.
Thank
And
you very much.
listen,
Good
like,
luck.
subscribe, and share. Thank you, Mary.